Hola y buenos días. Yo soy el señor Morris. Soy el maestro de español. ¿Cómo están? Well, today we're going to begin an experiment with plants. I tell you what, first, let's go ahead and sing our greeting song. Canten conmigo. Buenos días, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está? Muy bien, gracias, muy bien, gracias. ¿Y usted? ¿Y usted? Good morning, good morning. How are you? How are you? Very well, I thank you. Very well, I thank you. And you, and you. Muy bien. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and start by going over the parts of the plant, okay? Now, we've talked about these. Let's go ahead and talk about these again to get ready for our experiment. First of all, this whole thing, it's a plant. What do we call a plant in Spanish? Do you remember? It's almost the same in Spanish as it is in English. La planta. La planta. That's right. And how about this part that grows down here underneath? It's the roots in English. Y en español es la raíz. Can you say that? La raíz. And that's the one we get to roll that R at the beginning. This next part of the plant that we're going to look at is this part. Right here, the stem or the stalk of the plant in English. Y en español, el tallo. El tallo. Can you say that? El tallo. That's right. How about these things? These green things that come off of the side of the tallo. Yeah. What are they called in English? Leaves, right? Leaves. Y en español, las hojas. Las hojas. You remember that? Sure, that should look familiar. How about these things? Now, not the whole thing here, but just these things here that are pink. What do we call those in English? Remember? She loves me not, she loves me. These are called petals. Y en español, los pétalos. Los pétalos. And that word is almost the same in Spanish as it is in English. Los pétalos. And finally, this whole thing up here. This whole thing. Right, it's a flower in English. And the word's kind of the same almost in Spanish. In Spanish es la flor. La flor. Okay. Hopefully these are getting pretty familiar to you and you're able to recognize it, especially when I say the word, and probably say the word along with me. Now, each of these parts is important to plants, and each has a special function for helping the plants grow. Now, we also talked about what plants need to grow. Do you remember? Do you remember what plants need to grow? Well, this is kind of what our experiment is going to be about today. Let's review again. ¿Qué necesita la planta para crecer? Let's go ahead and look at that now. ¿Qué necesita la planta para crecer? Well, these are the things that we looked at and talked about, right? What were they? Do you remember the individual things? First thing that we said we needed was this. This that's down here, that's dirt, right? Dirt. Y en español es la tierra. La tierra. Can you say that? Tierra. And you should get your tongue rolling for that one. La tierra. The next thing we talked about was this one. Up in the sky. Yeah. Very nice. This was only 3 letters. It starts with the same letter as the word sun. And this is sol. El sol. That's right. El sol. Now, another thing that we talked about was this. And we said this can fall down out of clouds in the sky, or you can just get it out of your faucets at home. And we said if it falls out of the sky, it's called lluvia. Lluvia. Remember that double L sounds like a y. Lluvia. Or if you get it out of your faucet, we'll just call it agua. Agua. Water, right? Agua. Can you say that? Good. And here's another thing that we don't often mention because it's just everywhere, and that's this stuff blowing around sometimes. It's everywhere. We breathe it, and that is aire. Aire. And you can see air and aire are spelled almost the same. Right. Well, these are the things that we've said that a plant needs to grow. But what if a plant doesn't have these things? What do you think will happen? What do you predict will happen? Well, that's what we're going to do today in our experiment. We're going to plant 3 different pots with some seeds, okay? Now, one pot we'll leave without water. We won't put any water on it, okay? Another pot we'll leave out of the sunshine. No sun will get to this one. And the third pot, we'll go ahead and give both sun and water to. Okay, now here's where the experiment part comes in. What do you predict or guess will happen to our 3 pots with seeds in them? Well, let's see. First of all, you need to have 3 things to plant in. Now, I got some cups here, and I told you last time that you'd probably want to get these together. If you got these together, go ahead and do it along with me now. If you haven't gotten these, go ahead and watch what I'm doing, and you can do this experiment later, okay? Now, I got cups, but you can even get the milk cartons out of your cafeteria, and the first thing that I did was I put a hole down in the bottom. You see that? I put a hole through there so that any extra water can drain out. Now, if you're going to be putting holes into the bottom of cups or into the milk cartons or anything, make sure that you have a parent or a teacher there helping you out, because we don't want anyone to get injured trying to do this, okay? So, I have my 3 cups, and I put holes into the bottom of each of them. Now, what are we going to need to put in to each of these cups? Do you remember? La tierra, or the soil or dirt, we're going to need to put into each one of these. So I brought some right here, and I'm going to go ahead and take each one of these and put some soil into it. Now, this might be kind of messy work, so I'm working over some newspaper here. You might want to put down some paper or something so that your desk in your classroom don't get dirty. I'm sure that your teacher and your custodian and everyone will appreciate that. Okay. There. Now, I went ahead and put soil into all 3 of my pots. And now I've told you that we're going to need something to plant into there. We're going to plant some seeds. What I did was I just went into my kitchen and I got some of these pinto beans. Okay? These are just the brown pinto beans that we cook up to have for dinner, and these work really well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put 3 of them into each of my pots just to make sure that something grows. More than 3 would probably be too many, so the most you're going to want to put in is 3. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my soil and put a hole into my soil, get a hole down there, okay? And then I'm going to drop my seeds down into the hole, push them down in there, and then cover them up with dirt. Okay? So I'm going to do that to each one of my pots. Go ahead and, if you're doing this experiment with me now, go ahead and do that now. Got my 3 seeds again. I've got my hole. I'm going to cover them up. And 3 seeds. And cover it up. Now, I've got my 3 seeds, and I've done the exact same thing to each of them. But remember, we said that we were going to do something different to each of the pots. Okay. Now the first pot I said, I'm going to go ahead and leave without water. Okay. Without water. Sin agua. Sin means without, and agua is water. So this one I'm going to leave without water, so I'm just going to leave this one right here like this. I'm just going to leave this one right here like this and see what happens. Okay? The second one, I said I'm going to put sin sol. Remember, sol is the sunshine, sun. So sin sol means without sun. So I'm going to go ahead and put some water into this one. Here goes. There you go. So this one, sin sol, I'm going to go ahead and put some water into, but in order to leave it without sunshine, I brought this, and this is just a big coffee can that I'm going to take and put over the top of it to make sure that no sunshine gets to it. So here it says sin sol, and there, now it's going to stay dark. Now the last one that I have here, remember the first one was sin agua, and the second one was sin sol. This one is con sol y agua. Con sol y agua. That means with sun and water. So I'm going to go ahead and take my water cup here and put some water down into this plant. And now, this plant and my one that says sin agua, I can take and put both of those into my window so that they'll get some sunshine and see what happens to them. And this one that's without sunshine, sin sol, I can go ahead and put anywhere I want to, just so the sun doesn't get to it. Okay. And now that we've done that, what are you going to predict about what will happen? Well, let's look at today's activity sheet and find out. Today's activity sheet is ¿Qué le pasará a la planta? Or what will happen to the plant? Here we go. Go ahead and start off by putting your name up at the top. Voy a escribir mi nombre, Roberto. Okay. Now, the instructions say, read the column under la planta, read the row next to la planta, make predictions based on the information in the column and the row. Check the box that matches your prediction. Okay, so here's ¿Qué le pasará a la planta? So this is what, and this is la planta, the plant. Pasará, pass. Pasará. What will pass to the plant, or what will happen to the plant? Here's some possible outcomes. It will grow sin hojas verdes. It will grow without green leaves. Here's one. Crecerá con hojas verdes. And remember, con means with. It will grow with leaves green. So it'll have green leaves. Or morirá. It will die. What do you think will happen to the plant? The plant will grow without leaves. The plant will grow with green leaves. Or the plant will die. Well, let's see. Here's your chance. Sin agua. Without water. What do you think will happen to the plant? Will it grow without green leaves? Will it grow with green leaves? Or will it die? Whatever your guess is, go ahead and put an X over that box. That'll be your prediction, your guess. How about sin sol? Without sunshine. What do you think will happen? Will it grow without green leaves? Will it grow with green leaves? Or will it die if it doesn't have sunshine? What do you think will happen? Choose one of these answers and put an X in whichever box you think will happen to that plant. And finally, our last one. Con agua y sol, with water and sunshine. What do you think will happen? Will the plant grow without green leaves? Will it grow with green leaves? Or will it die if we give it water and sunshine? Choose what you think the answer is and put an X over your guess. And now, that's what's kind of cool about this activity sheet today is it's your guessing. So you can't really make a wrong answer. We're not going to say you're wrong or you're right. This is guessing. So whatever you choose, just go ahead and mark it, and then in a couple of days we'll check the plant and see what's actually happened. Ahora, vamos a repasar con estos videos. We're going to go ahead and review with these videos. Presten atención y repitan todos.
La planta. ¿Cuáles son las partes de la planta? La raíz, el tallo, la hoja, el pétalo, la flor. ¿Qué necesita la planta para crecer? El sol, el agua o la lluvia, la tierra, el aire.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, if you didn't get a chance to follow along and do our experiment with us today, try to do it later. It's pretty easy. It's a lot of fun. Teachers put down the paper. It'll make cleanup pretty easy. And hopefully it's getting towards that time of year when it'll be nice to start some seeds growing. Okay? So if you haven't got a chance to do it yet, please go ahead and try to get that done. And we'll look at our experiment later to see what happens, see how close our predictions are to what actually happens. Okay? Right now, it's time to say goodbye. Sí, la despedida. Well, now, next lesson, we're going to take a look at some things that we get from plants that we eat. So I tell you what, students and teachers, you might want to go ahead and do some brainstorming in your classroom. See if you can think about plants that we eat. Can you think of some? Go ahead and maybe you can start listing some in your classroom, and maybe you'll start seeing some patterns in terms of the different foods. Because next class will also be looking at some patterns, okay? Something that you might want to review, okay? I bet you guys will do well. Pero ahora, canten conmigo la canción de despedida. Adiós, queridos amigos, que les vaya muy, muy bien. Adiós, queridos amigos, y cuídense también. Very good. Remember to keep reviewing. I hope you got to plant your seeds. Until next time, adiós, queridos amigos.